I'm Violet Hott. Welcome to the Morgan County Partnership's Read-Along series on race and diversity from PBS Kids. Today we will be reading My Hair is a Garden, Words and Illustrations by Cozbi A. Cabrera. I was always drawn to Miss Tillie's house. She lived 4 houses down and across the street from our house. There was something special about Miss Tillie, the way she found a use for everything and made up songs while scrubbing her porch, the way her house shone in the daylight with its vines curling around it. It took my breath away. You could say her house had a glory. I used to run right into her house when I was a toddler. So when I was teased because of my hair, again, it was no surprise that I found myself running right to Miss Tillie after school. She led me to the kitchen table where she'd been straining sorrel. Its pungent aroma and the smell of steeping ginger filled the kitchen. When my tears came, a slow leak, a salty streak, she handed me a tissue and let me be for a few minutes. Miss Tillie knew if I was looking for comfort, I could go to Mama for that. She knew I was at her house for a reason. She set a cup of sorrel in front of me, and I took a sip. It went down smooth and tangy and broke through the lump in my throat. I need help with my hair, I said. It wasn't the first time my hair had been made a joke. I sort of got used to it. I'd shrug it off, or I'd keep my hat on, even when I wasn't supposed to wear it in class. But when Julio Richards, who I'd known since kindergarten, said, "We all know Mack's hair is always a mess," he said it like it was a fact. Like we all know the Statue of Liberty is surrounded by water, or we all know George Washington was the first president of the United States. Folks have been poking fun of my hair since I was little, I told Miss Tillie. Mama's tried to fix it, but the truth is, she doesn't know what to do with it. I could feel Miss Tillie's hand on my thick nest of a head. That touch gave me hope. I made a little song in my head. Miss Tillie's hair is shiny, Miss Tillie's hair is long. She wears it as a crown, like beauty wrapped in song. You know, Miss Tillie's hair has a glory. Miss Tillie called my mama, who said I could stare there a while. Then Miss Tillie turned to me. "Now, I'll show you how to shampoo." She said, "Shampoo? I know my hair's a mess, but it's not dirty," I thought. Miss Tillie put a towel around my neck and led me to the sink. Normally I would part your hair in quarters before shampooing, but it's a bit tangled and matted now, so it's best to shampoo first. We'll detangle when it's more pliable. For that, you'll need a wide-tooth comb. "I already use a wide-tooth comb," I said. "Well, when I use a comb, that is." Miss Tillie took out a large comb with teeth that looked as far apart as the spaces in a garden rake. I nodded. "Oh, right," I said, "a wide-tooth comb." "We'll use this one for now," said Miss Tillie. "Later on, when your hair's trained, you can go back to your usual comb." Trained? Did Miss Tillie mean she could train hair? "Oh yes," Miss Tillie replied. "You've got to work with what you have, but you can still tell it what to do." "Do you think my hair will be as long as yours once it's trained?" I asked her. "Length doesn't matter, Mackenzie. Don't let anyone fool you. It's the health of your hair that counts." Miss Tillie ran the water in the sink. "I guess you're right," I said, but I wasn't convinced. Would my hair always be somebody's ideal of a joke? Would it ever be beautiful? Miss Tillie turned the water off. "Which would you prefer if you had to choose? A healthy, shiny head of cropped hair, or hair that's long, straggly, fragile, and full of split ends?" Were those my only choices? These questions were drowning out the song in my head. Miss Tillie looked at me as if she were reading my thoughts. She slowly pulled the towel from my shoulder and laid it on the kitchen counter by the sink, near the drained pot of sorrel. "Come with me," she said. She steered me toward the screen door to her garden. Miss Tillie's backyard was a paradise with so many shades of green, bright pockets of colorful flowers and cool shade. I could barely take it in. It was as if someone had taken a big paintbrush and made bold strokes of green, then used countless little paintbrushes to fill in the details. We walked over to a bench and sat down. I inhaled deeply. The backyard didn't smell like the rest of the neighborhood. It smelled, well, alive. I wanted to know every part of this garden. I reached down to feel the ground. The earth was damp and cool. It felt like it was giving me something I couldn't see. "How did you create this, Miss Tillie?" I wanted to know. 30 or more years ago, I put some seeds in the ground, Miss Tillie said. I planted cuttings from neighbors and friends' trees, bought a few plants and bulbs from catalogs. I pointed to the tree Miss Tillie called a Japanese maple, the big one that draped gracefully over the garden. That tree was a cutting? I asked. Oh, that was a wee thing at first. The phone company men came through the yard one day and trampled over it with their boots, got in the way when they were sitting to have lunch. I found it plucked up clean and woven into the chain-link fence. I gasped. What did you do? Oh, I cried, Miss Tillie replied. Paid $15 for that tree, and that was a lot of money for me at the time. But I put that tree right back in the ground and watered it every day without fail. I thought about how that little tree had survived and all the water Miss Tillie gave it every day, even though it just looked like a broken branch. I wondered if I would have given up and thrown it away. I leaned down and ran my hand over some tiny plants on the ground near the bench. What are these? Those are succulents. They hold a lot of water. Makes a great ground cover. They sure are pretty, I said. Miss Tillie looked at me. Is that Japanese maple prettier than those succulents? She asked. Of course not, I said. Even though that Japanese maple's taller? She asked. They're both beautiful, I said, even though they're so different. As the words came out of my mouth, I knew that I believed it. Ah, she said, go back inside and put your towel back on. That was the day I first learned that my hair is a garden. My hair is a garden, and like every good garden, it must be cared for every day. The nutrients in the soil can be stimulated and enriched. My body is the soil for my hair. What I give to the soil comes back to me. I love to eat right. My words are like seeds that I plant. What I think and speak draws a yield. I weed out all the opinions that have no place in my garden. It's too curly. Pull it back, straighten it, cut it off. Miss Tillie says it's not what you start with in the garden that matters. It's the care, time, and attention you give it. My hair is a garden, and I give it love. Thanks for watching, and don't forget that you are unique, important, and wonderfully made.
Woohoo! Hey, super scholars, Mrs. Hot here. Thanks for joining us for a book on race and diversity. And now it's time for Let's Talk About It. First question. Mack was bullied because her hair is different. Have you or anyone you know ever experienced bullying based on how you look? Ooh, that's a good question. Take a second and think about that. Good job. Next question. Miss Tillie is a neighbor and ally to Mack. What does it mean to be a good neighbor? Good job. Now, give examples on how you can be a good neighbor and friend to those being bullied. Remember, it's a positive action to be a good neighbor. So what positive actions can you do? Awesome. Now our last question. Just like people, hair is diverse. How is your hair like a garden? That's a great question. We all know Mrs. Hot has diverse hair, right? How would you guys like to have all this white hair when you're 30 years old? So think about that. How is your hair diverse like a garden? That's beautiful. Remember, your hair is perfect just the way it is. Why? Because you are unique. You are important and you are wonderfully made. Come back next week for another book with Violet, and I'll see you then. Love you. Bye.